From homeless to millionaire, the black story that even Donald Trump and Elon Musk admire. Jack Morgan's rise was the kind of story they say you read about in movies, but never believe. Just a few years back, he was living in a cramped, grimy shelter, clothes tattered, dreams broken. The city was a cold, indifferent monster, swallowing souls whole, and Jack was nearly swallowed too. No one, not even his own shadow, thought he'd make it out. Yet here he was, cowering over the city skyline now, a name flashing on billboards, palatial offices in the clouds, and a reputation people whispered about, sometimes in awe, sometimes in fear. His charm was electric once, a fire that drew people in like moths. But lately, it flickered weakly, as if caught in the smog choking the city. The fast cars, the shiny parties, the endless champagne, none of it soothed the gnawing emptiness that clawed inside. What no one saw was how thin his mask had grown. Behind the smooth talk and cool smiles, Jack's her confidence wasn't just loud, it was brutal. Jack felt pulled and pushed by her wild energy, and through the chaos of their tears and fights, laughter and heated whispers, a dangerous kind of passion sparked. But Emily's shadows were deep. Whispers started swirling, hidden deals, ruthless moves behind closed doors. Secrets that could shatter their careers and rip apart their polished public faces. Every smile had an edge of warning. Jack's chest tightened every time he thought about what she might be hiding. Then, like a storm breaking the fragile calm, Tom Reed showed up. His face was twisted with hatred. Once Jack's partner, now his bitter enemy, with a hunger for revenge that burned cold and sharp. Tom had nothing left to lose and everything to destroy. Suddenly, the world became a minefield of lies and betrayals. Jack's hands trembled as he balanced on the edge of a knife. Should he stand by Emily, risk everything for their fierce, reckless love? Or should he protect his own fragile legacy, exposing the cracks that threatened to swallow them both? The city lights flickered outside his penthouse window, reflecting the chaos in his mind. Hope mingled with fear, trust with doubt. Every choice could be the one that broke him, or saved him. Jack stared out at the endless city below, heartbeat loud in his ears, swallowed by the question burning hotter than the neon night. How far would he go for love when everything he built was crumbling to dust? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jack stood at the edge, heart racing, caught in the chaos of his decisions. The neon lights outside blurred like the shaky breath he took. Love and fear twisted inside him, a tightening knot he couldn't shake. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the penthouse, snapping him back to reality. What was that? Emily's voice sliced through the silence, strong but laced with panic. Jack turned to her, ready to find comfort in her wild confidence, but what he saw sent a chill down his spine. There, emerging from the shadows of the hallway, stood a figure so familiar yet so twisted in anger. It felt surreal. It was Tom Reed, his face distorted in a mask of hatred. Jack's stomach dropped. It felt like old ghosts were crashing the party, and the air grew thick with tension. "I told you this wasn't over, Jack!" Tom spat, venom dripping from his words, teeth clenched tight with rage. "You think you can just run from your past? You're still that worthless street rat I picked up years ago." Before Jack could respond, the room plunged into chaos. A flash, a loud bang. Something shattered behind him. Jack instinctively ducked, heart pounding. He looked up to see shards of glass flying, glittering like stars, before falling into darkness. Emily screamed, a raw, primal sound. "Get down!" Jack yelled, instinct kicking in, but confusion clawed at him. Why had Tom come here? And where was the gun? He didn't even register that his entire world was crumbling behind him. Walls closing in, memories flooding back. Everything he had built was now collateral in this deadly mess. As if the darkness itself had teeth. The power cut out, plunging them into an eerie silence. Only the muffled city sounds seeped in, an unsteady pulse outside their bubble of chaos. A flicker of light returned from the street. Jack's eyes darted to Emily. She was crouched low, tears glistening on her cheeks, fear written all over her face. But something else too, a flicker of recognition. "Jack," she breathed, the confidence in her voice diminishing, replaced by something fragile. "You don't understand. Tom isn't here just for you." Before Jack could respond, Emily's hand shot out. In her palm lay a small flash drive, its edges glinting ominously under the fading light from the street below. "This is why he's here!" "What is it?" he asked, dread wrapping around him like a vice. "Everything," she said, her voice trembling. "The hidden deals, our secrets, and—" The words caught in her throat, heavy like a weight. "The truth about me!" His breath caught. Everything he believed about her was now crumbling as fast as the city skyline outside. A low growl echoed in the quiet, Tom's laughter cruel and mocking. "You really don't know, do you, Jack? I can't wait to show you what she's been hiding." The air thickened, suffocating. Jack's world spun, reality warping as a new nightmare unfurled. Every choice he made now had stakes he hadn't fathomed. Emily? An ally or a deceiver? The question loomed larger than him. The city outside buzzed with life, yet in the dim light of the penthouse, dawn felt far away. Jack was left hanging in the balance, caught between love and betrayal, trembling hands grasping for answers that felt just out of reach. Would he risk everything for a truth he had yet to uncover? Jack continued to gaze out at the city, the tension in his chest twisting tighter, the pulse throbbing behind his eyes. Emily's laughter echoed faintly in his mind, a sound that both warmed him and sent shivers down his spine. How far would he go for her love? The night air grew heavier, suffocating almost, as if the city itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to explode. Then he heard a knock at the door, a sharp, urgent rattle that sliced through his thoughts. He turned sharply, uncertainty gnawing at him, like a wolf stalking its prey. The door swung open, and everything changed. Tom Reed stood there, but he wasn't alone. Behind him loomed a tall, brash figure, dressed in a dark suit that screamed power. The air shifted and crackled, electric and frightening. Jack's heart raced. He thought he recognized the man. It was Marcus Teller, a ruthless businessman who dealt in shadows and secrets, a puppet master pulling strings that could snap lives in half. Jack's jaw clenched, but he forced himself to stand tall. "What do you want, Tom?" Tom laughed, a hollow sound that sent ice down Jack's spine. "You're going to want to hear this, Morgan. You see, Emily isn't the only one with secrets." The world tilted. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He felt as if the ground had vanished beneath him. "What do you mean?" Tom stepped aside, revealing a thin envelope that he held up like it was the Holy Grail. "This, my friend, is your ticket to the truth. Emily has been using you as a shield." Jack felt the room spin. "Using me? That's a lie." "Ho ho ho ho! You think so?" "Let's just say she's been playing both sides. This little partnership isn't as innocent as you think. Her deals? Far more dangerous than you understand." Marcus stepped forward, a sly grin spreading on his lips. "You see, Jack, Emily was working with us. The moment you started popping up in the media, she became a valuable asset. But the truth is, we control the ground. She thought she could rise above, but oh, she's just a pawn." Jack's heart sank. Images of Emily, her laughter, her fierce gaze began to blur. Doubt clawed at him sharper than any knife. "You're lying. She wouldn't do that. Check your reality, Morgan. This city, this operation, it's a game. And you, my friend, are living in a dream. You need to wake up before the nightmare swallows you whole." Tom's voice dripped with malice, a taunting echo of Jack's fears. Jack's hands shook as he reached for the envelope, the weight of it laden with all his insecurities, all his doubts. This was more than he could handle. Then a flash of movement caught his eye. Emily stood silhouetted in the doorway. Her face was pale, eyes wide, breathing quick. She'd heard everything. "Jack, wait!" she shouted, stepping into the light. The moment froze, the air thickening as emotions tangled. He opened his mouth, prepared to unleash the storm of words that had been brewing. But she rushed forward, grabbing his shoulders, desperation etched in her voice. "I can explain." Then before Jack could process anything further, a gunshot fired, quick and deafening. Silence shattered around them. Jack's heart stopped as he turned to where Marcus had stood moments before, now replaced by chaos. The man lying on the floor, blood pooling beneath him. Jack stumbled back, body numb, stranded between shock and fear. He looked at Emily, but her expression twisted between horror and something else. Something dark that didn't quite fit. "Jack," she whispered, her voice trembling. "This changes everything." In that moment, Jack realized everything was built on lies. The love, the trust, the future, all crumbling like ashes in the wind. The only question that remained was, who could he trust now? Jack stumbled backward, confusion swirling inside him like a storm. The sight of Marcus lying motionless on the floor sent shockwaves through the already chaotic scene. Tapa. Adrenalina 7, combatando procesar las palabras de Emily. Esto cambia todo. ¿Qué puede cambiar todo más que un hombre aquí muerto? Ya que se metía con el pánico, eligió el reloj del impulso de sacarle. Se empezó a gritar con el pánico. Un bonjito, acaba colapsándote. You and your pretty little love story. It was all a lie. Jack's heart pounded. He turned to Tom, ready to unleash his fury, but before he could speak, a siren wailed outside, cutting through the air like a blade. Time's running out, Tom said, reveling in the chaos, and you're in too deep now. Suddenly, everything shifted. Jack felt a coldness seep into his bones. The weight of the envelope still hung in the air, but it wasn't just about the message inside. You're saying she set me up? Used me? Emily's hands trembled as she reached for him, but Jack pulled away, the trust he once had slipping like sand through his fingers. Is it true? Jack, please, she pleaded, voice breaking. You don't know the whole story. Just then, the tension cracked wide open. From the hallway, more footsteps echoed like a herald of doom. Jack turned, heart racing. This wasn't just Tom and Marcus. There was a whole crew of men entering the penthouse, faces hard, eyes glinting with malice. Did you think you were safe? One of them sneered. We've been watching you, Jack. All of you. Jack's stomach churned as he recognized one of them. It was Victor, a figure from his past, someone he thought was long gone. Jack's world spun again, memories flooding back, shadows he thought were buried. You? Jack's voice shook, anger mixing with fear. You're tangled up in this? Victor stepped forward, a smirk playing on his lips. You think your rise to the top was all due to some hard work? No. It was us pulling the strings all along. And Emily? Just the bait. Jack felt sick, his pulse racing as the walls closed in once more. He'd been a pawn in a game much bigger than he ever imagined. Emily had become the irresistible spark. Was she ever really on his side? I didn't know. Emily's voice was desperate, her face pale. They promised me. They promised you what? More lies? Jack shot back, hurt and betrayal clawing at him from different angles. The sirens grew louder outside, a grim reminder of the world crashing down around them. Just then, Victor pulled something from his coat, a sleek gun glinting under the dim lights. Oh, Jack, this is just the beginning! You wanted to know who to trust? Let's make it simple. Trust me, or it's game over. Jack's heart raced, the weight of decision overwhelming him. The stakes had never been this high, and all his choices now felt foolish. He had to act. The room was closing in. Trust was a mirage, and love had morphed into a cruel betrayal. Jack! Emily's voice barely echoed as she stepped closer, but he felt the distance growing wider. The safety net had shattered, and for the first time, the clarity hit him hard. Was anything real? Or was he just another piece in someone else's game? Then the unexpected happened. A hand shot up behind him, a hard strike to the back of Jack's head. Darkness consumed him. The world went black. What had just happened? As he fell into the abyss, a single thought consumed him. Who was really pulling the strings? And who would survive this twisted play? Jack stared out at the endless city below, heartbeat loud in his ears, engulfed by the question burning hotter than the neon night. How far would he go for love when everything he built was crumbling to dust? The air felt thick, almost electric, as uncertainty seeped into each corner of his mind. He drew a deep breath, trying to ground himself in that chaos, when suddenly the phone rang. The sound pierced the tension like a knife. Jack instinctively reached for it, fingers trembling. It was a private number. Something inside him screamed to ignore it, but curiosity and dread clawed at him. He answered, his voice shaky. "Hello? Jack, I have something important. You need to listen." The voice was low and familiar. Tom Reed. It sent shards of panic through Jack's body. "What do you want, Tom? You're in deep, aren't you? Playing with fire. Emily's not who you think she is." Jack felt his gut twist. "What do you mean?" "Meet me. The old warehouse on 18th. Tonight. I'll prove it to you." The line went dead, leaving Jack standing in a cloud of sweat and fear. He thought of Emily, her fierce eyes, their passionate nights, and the secrets hidden in their joy. Could Tom be telling the truth? Before he had time to think, the door flung open. Emily barged in, eyes blazing. The moment she spotted Jack's pale face, her expression shifted. "What's wrong?" He hesitated, but the storm inside him erupted. "Tom called. He said, you're hiding something big." The color drained from Emily's face. What did he say? "Just that you're not who you claim to be." Jack cursed himself for the words, for letting doubt creep in. Emily's eyes darted, shadows darkening her face. "You can't listen to him. He's desperate to hurt us. Don't you see?" Her voice trembled, a crack in her bravado. "Why do you always defend him? What does he know that I don't?" In that instant, the air grew thick with tension. Emily stepped closer, desperation flickering in her eyes. "Jack, please, you can't trust him." "Let's leave this behind, just you and me." But Jack felt something shift, a weight settling heavily on his chest. It's not that simple. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from outside, glass shattering, a cacophony of screams mingling with the city's pulse. Both of them rushed to the window. Below, chaos erupted. A car had crashed into a building, flames licking up the sides, reflecting the panic on the street. Then, Jack's phone buzzed again. Another message from Tom, quick and furious. "I can't wait. You need to see this. Check the news." Rushing back, Jack opened his social media. Headlines flashed across the screen. Mysterious death connected to Emily Clark's past. His heart sank. Images of Emily from years ago haunted the screen. A terrified girl, barely out of her teens, surrounded by cops. It wasn't the image of the fierce woman he loved. It was a ghost long buried. Jack's breath quickened. "Emily?" Her face twisted in horror. "No, it wasn't like that. I can explain." But he was already reeling, pieces shifting in his mind, trust fraying between them like old thread. The once safe haven of their love felt like quicksand. "Hold on!" he shouted. "What else haven't you told me?" Suddenly, there was a loud pounding on the door. "Open up! Police!" Jack's heart raced. The room felt too small, too hot. He turned to Emily, panic mirrored in her eyes. In that moment, they both realized the fragile threads of their world were snapping. How much danger had he invited into his life? What shadows had he overlooked for love? As the pounding grew louder and more insistent, one thought rang clear in his mind. Everything he believed was about to be shattered, and he was caught right in the middle. Jack stared out at the endless city below, heartbeat loud in his ears, swallowed by the question burning hotter than the neon night. How far would he go for love when everything he built was crumbling to dust? His hands shook slightly, glancing at Emily across the room, her eyes fierce and focused on a deal they'd been crafting all week. The tension buzzed between them like static electricity. She seemed like the storm in his soul, wild and unpredictable. But the clouds of doubt loomed over him. Could he trust her? The phone buzzed, shattering the tension. Jack grabbed it from the table, frowning at the unknown number flashing on the screen. He hesitated, but curiosity pushed him forward. He answered, "Jack Morgan?" A cold voice cut through the air. "You need to listen. This is Tom." Jack felt a jolt, his world tilting dangerously. "What do you want?" he croaked, controlling the tremor in his voice. "Meet me at the old pier. Midnight. You need to know the truth about Emily." The call ended abruptly, leaving Jack reeling. Frozen, he glanced at Emily, swallowed hard. Did he want to know? Did he really want to see what Tom had in store? The betrayal in Tom's words felt like a sphere of ice settling in his stomach. He imagined what she might be hiding. The girl he was falling for. The girl with the brilliant smile. Hiding something dark. Time crawled as Jack paced the penthouse. Visions of what might be lurking beneath the surface, twisting in his mind. The lights of the city flickered outside. The very life he'd built felt fragile and thin. "Jack, are you okay?" Emily's voice broke through, leaving an echo of concern behind. "Yeah, just thinking." He brushed it off, more worried about what Tom might expose than the facade of calm he needed to maintain. Kent, his assistant, barged in with urgency. "Jack, news just broke. There's a scandal. Someone's leaking documents about your company. It's getting messy." "Who?" Panic bubbled up. His throat tightened. Was it Tom? Was it Emily? Not sure yet, but it's bad. "Investors are pulling out. We may need to lay low for a while." Fear clawed at Jack's insides. He had worked too hard to let it slip through his fingers. "We can fix this. Just tell everyone to hold the line. I'll handle it." He felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to jump into the unknown. Midnight approached with a relentless tick of the clock. The anxiety knotted tighter within him. As the hours struck, Jack found himself at the pier. Shadows dancing against the water's surface. The moon hung heavy above, illuminating the path that led him to the meeting place. Anxiety surged with each step, but trust, that annoying flicker of hope, kept him moving forward. Wow! Suddenly, a scream shattered the quiet. Jack spun around, heart racing. Emily was there, breathless and terrified. "Jack, you need to leave, now!" Before he could respond, a figure lunged from the darkness. Tom, face twisted in rage, a gun glinting in his hand. "Stop, right there!" Tom shouted, eyes wild. The world slowed, everything narrowed into focus. Jack's heart thundered, pumping adrenaline. Survival instincts kicking in. "Jack, run!" Emily screamed, lunging toward him. In a flash, gunfire tore through the air, and Jack's world exploded. A weightless moment. Then, chaos. Jack felt the ground shift beneath him. Everything spun. The love, the trust, the betrayals. And suddenly, in that moment, clarity struck. He hadn't just stepped into danger. He had jumped into a fire he didn't know was burning. The loud crack of gunfire echoed, but above it all, another voice rang out, familiar and haunting. Jack turned, mind racing, seeking answers in the chaos. What he saw made his blood run cold, a truth that shattered everything he thought he knew. It was more than betrayal. It was a revelation that might turn allies into enemies and dreams into nightmares. Jack. Emily's voice was small, frightened. "I can explain." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating, as the night swallowed them whole. Jack stared out at the endless city below, heartbeat loud in his ears, swallowed by the question burning hotter than the neon night. How far would he go for love when everything he built was crumbling to dust? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through his penthouse. The glass rattled, and his heart jumped. He swung around, eyes wide, pulse pounding against his ribs. What was that? Jack rushed to the living room with a mix of fear and adrenaline. Emily stood frozen, mouth agape, staring at the TV screen. "Jack, you need to see this!" The news anchor's voice cut through the chaos. The headline flashed in bold red. "Mysterious scandal threatens to topple corporate giants." Jack squinted, inching closer. His name glared back at him alongside Emily's. His stomach twisted. How could this be? They'd just celebrated a merger, hailed as the tech power couple. Now, they were at the center of a storm. Jack's hands trembled. What is happening? But before Emily could answer, the broadcast cut to footage of a press conference. Tom Reed stood at the podium, grinning like a shark. It twisted Jack's gut. He was supposed to be out of the picture. But there he was, spewing lies wrapped in confidence. "Jack Morgan and Emily Clark," he sneered, "have been using insider information to manipulate their way to the top." Jack's breath hitched. The walls closed in. This was unreal. He couldn't breathe. Emily's eyes bore into him, searching for answers that he didn't have. "They can't prove anything," he yelled, desperation rising in his voice like a tidal wave. But Tom wielded documents like weapons, each claim sharper than the last. "We have recordings, evidence of their dealings. This is just the beginning. Dot." Jack felt the world slip away. His legacy, his love, crumbling. Every bill, every sparkle of his penthouse felt like a lie. He traced a shaking hand through his hair, trying to make sense of it. "What do we do?" Emily's voice cracked. The steel facade she always wore began to dent under the weight of the storm. As the footage continued to roll, Jack noticed something strange. A brief flash in the corner of the screen. A logo. It lingered for just a moment before disappearing. A small startup, one he'd invested in, one that Tom had no ties to. Wait. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the screen went dark. Panic gripped them both as they heard pounding footsteps outside, the unmistakable sound of heavy boots on the marble floor. Jack's heart raced. Are they coming for us? He stepped back, eyes darting to Emily. There was something different about her now, something shadowy, hiding behind her fierce gaze. A flicker of fear, mingled with something more dangerous. Was it guilt? The door burst open. A flood of reporters rushed in, cameras flashing like rabbits in the night. They shouted questions, voices crashing over each other. Jack, is it true? Emily, what's your response? A scale spun around them. Jack caught la glimpa de Emily's face, una reninta inconfundible de pánico y determinación. Justo cuando abrió su boca para hablar, se volvió casi con disparo. Me anahui. Medo la tierra. Pero ella estaba ya. Suponerlo. Mitad. El joven corazón había, gratando por la divina tremenda. ¿Qué sucedía? Emily había sido más que para gente. She had her own secrets to protect. As the cameras moved beyond him, the last thoughts echoed in his mind. Was she leading him into this trap? And if so, how far had this facade gone? Outside, the city buzzed, indifferent to the sinking truth that began to claw its way to the surface. In that instant, Jack knew everything was about to change. The love he thought was fierce and passionate now felt like a ticking time bomb. How could he trust the very person who could pull the strings of his downfall? The lights in the city dimmed, but the storm inside him had just begun. The city buzzed outside as Jack stood alone, heart pounding, his mind racing. The press was frenzied, voices crashing together. He felt himself shrinking, the walls of his penthouse closing in. Would Emily return? What would she say? And then a piercing scream shattered the chaos. Jack recoiled, fear tearing through him. He spun toward the door, every fiber of his being screaming for Emily. Emily! He rushed for the entrance, flinging it open. The scene outside was a whirlwind of panic. People were yelling, pointing. Flashing lights from police cars illuminated the faces of terrified onlookers. There, at the center of it all, lay Tom. Blood pooled around him, bright crimson against the cold concrete. Had he been shot? The sight hit Jack like a punch to the gut. His heart raced faster, confusion and fear slamming against each other in his chest. "Tom!" Jack yelled, stepping forward, desperation rising. He didn't know why he cared, but the sight felt wrong. Life was slipping away from him, from all of them. Amid the commotion, Jack felt a hand grip his shoulder. He whirled around, only to find Emily standing behind him, her face ghostly pale, eyes wide with horror. "What happened?" he asked, voice trembling. I don't know," she gasped, but her words came out choked, as if they were wrapped in the panic swirling around them. Suddenly, a dark figure stepped into view, a tall man dressed in black. Dot. He pushed through the crowd, his face calm against the chaos. Jack's stomach twisted as he recognized him. It was Victor, the one person he thought he'd never see again. "Victor? What are you doing here?" Jack's mind raced, trying to process the nightmare unfolding. Victor turned his icy gaze toward him. "Just doing my job, Jack." "My job?" The words came out in disbelief, but before he could voice his confusion, a loud crack broke through the air. A gunshot echoed down the street. Time froze. People screamed and scattered like leaves in the wind. Emily pressed close to Jack, trembling. "We need to get out of here!" Jack's mind was whirling. Why was Victor here? What was he involved in? But another thought pierced through. The realization that Tom had been right. Emily wasn't just a victim of this chaos. She was tied to it, somehow. "Jack!" she pleaded, urgency rushing through her voice. "Let's go, now!" The sound of sirens grew louder, drawing nearer. He opened his mouth, ready to confront her, to demand answers, but the moment was lost. Before he could respond, Victor's voice sliced through the chaos. "You don't understand what you're dealing with!" he shouted, and the world shifted again. Then it happened. Next to a dumpster, someone lurched forward. Clarity cracked through as a masked figure stepped into the light. Weapon raised, aiming straight at Jack. "Get down!" Emily shouted, pulling him back just as gunfire erupted. Jack's heart raced, pounding in his ears, but beneath the chaos came a sudden silence, a stillness wrapped in shock. He turned to Emily, eyes wide. "Did you know about this?" he demanded, hurt flooding through him. Emily hesitate. "I swear, Jack, I didn't," but her words cut off as another sound echoed, louder, sharper. A thud. Someone was falling. Jack whipped around, and there it was, a terrible realization crashing into him like a wave. The figure lying on the ground, struggling to breathe. It was not Tom. The shock unfurled as he stared into the face of the man on the ground, the one they had thought was dead. It was Marcus, alive, bloodied but breathing, eyes wide in fear. "Jack, you have to trust me," Marcus gasped, voice weak, but determination shone through. Everything shattered in that moment. The web of deceit, the lies spun so tightly, began to unravel before Jack's eyes. Emily's expression morphed from fear to something darker, a mixture of guilt and something unidentifiable. "Jack," she began, but he held up a hand. "Why are you both here?" Then, without a moment's hesitation, a spark lit in Marcus's eyes as he whispered, "It was her all along. The setup. It was meant to take you down." Jack staggered back, heart racing. What? The truth crashed hard, twisting the story he thought he knew. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a carefully orchestrated plan. And now he had to decide where he stood in it. Love shrouded in deception. Alliances fracturon where he thought they would remain firm. What now? In the heart of the storm, all Jack could think was, who could he trust? Jack staggered back, mind reeling from Marcus's revelation. The setup! It was meant to take you down! Stunned, he could barely process the weight of those words. Betrayal hung thick in the air, suffocating him. The truth was frayed, unraveling like a forgotten thread. Marcus lay there, struggling to breathe. Blood seeped through his fingers where he pressed against the wound. Every moment felt suspended in time. The chaos outside faded into a dull roar, the sirens and screams distant. Jack's eyes flicked to Emily, her face twisted in complex emotions, hurt simmering beneath something darker. Was she guilty? Had she known? Why didn't you tell me? Jack demanded, voice cracking. But before she could respond, a flicker of movement caught his eye. The masked figure emerging again, weapon drawn, eyes dead set. Get back, he yelled, pushing Emily behind him, instinctively stepping forward. Gunfire exploded, shattering the moment. Jack's heart thundered as bullets pierced the air. The masked figure fell, but not before firing again. Another shot rang out, and everything seemed to slow. Then silence. Jack blinked. Time hung thick with the aftermath, the world tipping sideways. He glanced down, shock coursing through him as he realized the shot hadn't been aimed at him. It had struck Marcus. The man who'd orchestrated so much of the chaos lay gasping, staring up with bewildered eyes. "Jack, save me." His voice was a whisper, mixed with pain. What was going on? Jack felt the ground shift beneath him, the truth collapsing like a house of cards. Suddenly, the lights above flickered, the tension masking the real question hovering in the air. Emily looked between them, her face pale. "I didn't want this," she murmured, but the confession hung like lead in the air. Then Marcus's eyes widened, focusing not on Jack, but somewhere behind him. A figure loomed, another presence in the shadows, someone emerging from the darkness. Jack turned, an icy grip settling around his heart as he saw her, the last person he expected. "Catherine?" he breathed, betrayal colored in disbelief. His sister stood there, poised and steely, a look of control plastered across her face. "I told you to stay away, Jack," she said, her tone deceptively calm. "But you never listened, did you?" The ground shook under him. You set all this up. "Don't act surprised," she said, crossing her arms. "You were always too wrapped up in your little dreams. You thought you could just waltz into this world without consequences. I was just cleaning up the mess." Jack's breath hitched, the walls of his world crumbling around him. Everything he believed, the love, the trust, the very foundation of his life, was a lie, woven into a twisted tapestry of betrayal. The life he'd fought for, twisted like smoke in the air. "Why?" he choked out, rage and disbelief mingling in the thick tension. "You can't be serious." "Because you were never meant to make it," she replied, voice cool and calculating. "This city is mine to control, not yours." Jack's heart raced. Panic surged. The reality of his sister's intentions exploding in his mind. The connections, the whispers he'd ignored, it all clicked into place. But Emily was still there, eyes wide, caught in the crossfire. "You can't do this," she gasped. Catherine's gaze shifted, a shadow flitting across her features. "You don't get to decide the game, sweetheart. But if you want to have a say, I suggest you act fast." With that, chaos erupted again, as sirens wailed closer, lights flashing ominously through the doorway. Jack stood there, face burning, heart hammering. Could he trust anyone? Marcus groaned, inching closer, desperation etched in every line of his face. "Jack, you have to choose." But as the world blurred around him, one thing became clear. Everything was about to turn upside down. All trust shattered, all alliances broken, and the fight was just beginning. Jack's heart raced, turning between the chaos and the bloodied scene before him. Catherine's gaze pierced through him, cold and calculating. "You were never supposed to make it this far, Jack," she said, her tone merciless. The masked figure lay unmoving at their feet, and the reality of the betrayal settled in thick layers of dread. "Why, Catherine?" Jack's voice was taut, barely a whisper. Each word dripped with disbelief. "You're my sister. All of this. How could you?" Her lips twisted into a smirk, satisfaction gleaming in her eyes. Family means nothing in this world. Power does. You were a liability, and you didn't even see it. Weren't you supposed to be the smart one? Jack's throat tightened, anger surging through him. He glanced at Marcus, struggling to stay conscious, blood pooling beneath him. This wasn't just a game anymore. Lives hung in balance. "You think I'm scared of you?" he shot back, courage building even as fear swirled inside him. "You should be," she hissed, moving ever so slightly toward him, carving her path through the chaos. "But I'm not here to kill you. Not yet." The blaring sirens grew louder, closing in fast. Outside, the crowd roared in confusion as officers began to push through the throng, searching for the source of the violence. Jack knew he had to act. He shifted, positioning himself between Catherine and Marcus, between the truth and the lies. "You want my company? You want my life?" He spat. "You'll have to kill me first." Laughter erupted from her, chilling and merciless. "You think this is over? You have no idea what you're up against." Emily reappeared, raw panic coursing through her as she dashed through the chaos. "Jack!" she cried, eyes wild with uncertainty. Relief flooded through him, relief tinged with dread. "Is he okay?" she asked, rushing to Marcus. Jack felt a knot twist within him. Would Emily stand beside him or with Catherine? "Just stay back," he warned, eyes never leaving his sister. "She set this all up, Em. We have to leave now." The piercing sounds of sirens blended with the crackling tension between them. Emily glanced between Marcus and Jack, uncertainty etched into every line of her face. "Jack, go," he shouted, breathless, urging her toward the exit. But suddenly, lights flickered, and in that moment, the world around them dimmed, an eerie calm enveloping the chaos. "Put your hands where I can see them." A voice boomed through a megaphone. Officers swarmed the area, weapons drawn. Catherine's smirk faded, replaced by a thin-lipped frown. "This isn't over, Jack. Not by a long shot." "We'll see about that," Jack shot back, adrenaline surging. He grabbed Emily's hand, pulling her closer. They had to escape this moment, this nightmare. Together, they dashed toward the fire escape, adrenaline pushing them through the haze of uncertainty. "We can't look back," Jack urged, fear clawing at his heart. They climbed down, hands shaking, hearts racing towards the uncertain dark below. As they landed in the alley, Jack turned to Emily, breathless. "What now?" "We find a way to expose her," Emily replied, determination shimmering in her eyes. "We have to turn this back on her." But even as he nodded, another sound reached them. The unmistakable tremor of footsteps. Jack's heart sank. "They're coming." "We need to move," he insisted, pulling her further into the alleyway, darkness encroaching around them. The night wrapped them in shadows, every heartbeat echoing against the cold brick. But as they ran, Jack couldn't shake the weight in his chest, the lingering doubts surrounding Emily, and the seeping truth about their relationship. They were on the edge of something bigger, something they couldn't fully grasp yet. As they disappeared into the depths of the city, a final thought pierced through the chaos. Trust was a fragile thing. teetering on the brink of destruction. But in the darkness ahead, a flicker of hope caught his eye, and it was just enough to keep him moving forward. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You have to subscribe now so you don't miss the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to help with the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even a second longer to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Your support means everything.